All right, Kirby Smart updated reporters in Miami about the status of Brock Bowers. As you know, as we're getting ready for this Orange Bowl game, there's been a lot of really good players at Florida State who are either injured or opting out. It's going to damage their argument that they should have been in the playoff, but that's another topic for another day. I'm tired of talking about that to some degree. Here's what Kirby had to say about Brock Bowers. He said on if he's going to play in the Orange Bowl, he said that's up to Brock. Brock's been with us the whole time and he's been doing all the things he's got to do. It's more important, though, that he's 100%. I have more to say about that in a second. He said the guy probably played earlier than he should have. Came out here and competed his butt off. Came out there and competed his butt off. He's done everything he can for Georgia. He's not 100%, so it makes it harder to do. So Brock Bowers has not opted out of the Orange Bowl, but if I'm reading between the lines there, it doesn't seem like he's going to play because of injury, which is not the same as opting out. I also don't think it's out of the question that he plays. We just don't know. I mean, like, ever since this thing has come up and started, everybody wants to know immediately what's going on with Brock Bowers or Lad McConkey or whoever. And the fact of the matter is, when it's annoying, but when people talk about it being day to day, that's what they're talking about. We don't know. I mean, like what I'm saying, we don't know. Brock probably doesn't know. So the annoying part of day to day, how do you think it's? You think it's annoying for Brock Bowers? It's certainly annoying for Brock Bowers. This is a guy who, look, he's done about all you can do at Georgia. There's not a lot of people that have won 2 national championships in college. Brock Bowers is one of them. He's a direct reason why Georgia won 2 national championships in the last 3 years. They've lost twice in 3 years. I mean, they are some significant number and 2. I mean, it's amazing what they've accomplished, and Brock is a big reason why. But the practices are so limited from what Kirby has essentially cut off media viewing of practices, period. Everything's secretive. So it's just what it is. That's the way they like it. And, that's why you get such up and down reporting, I think, about it. But we're going to see if he goes out there. I mean, he was not healthy against Alabama. It seemed pretty evident to everybody watching. He did not play against Georgia Tech. I think he did play against Tennessee and was fine in that game, and played against Ole Miss. But the Brock Bowers that we saw before Vanderbilt, we've only seen glimpses of that since. So I think if you're him, you're a top 15 draft pick for sure. You could be top 5. I mean, I would not spend that on a tight end. I don't care how good they are. But you're talking about a player who is at Georgia generational. I mean, there's only been 3-time All-Americans in the history of the program. Brock Bowers, David Pollock, Herschel Walker. They all 3 are had their own time at Georgia. And Herschel's extended for decades past that. David's maybe not as much, and we'll just see with Brock Bowers. Well, certainly not as much as Herschel's. We'll just see with Brock Bowers. But when you think about Herschel, he had enough star power, firepower, for lack of a better term, to run for Senate 40 years after he left Georgia, and he didn't live in the state during much of that time. He was living in Texas. That's how much of a name that he had, how big he had become because of what he accomplished at Georgia. It was because of what he accomplished at Georgia. It was not because of the business dealings. So whether you agree with Herschel's view of the world or not, or whatever, that's how big he was. I mean, it's hard to put into words. He really was the greatest college football player of all time. Like, in terms of just college football, because Georgia doesn't win the national championship without Herschel, period. Do they win it without Brock Bowers? Man, I don't know. I don't know if they win either of those. And here's why, okay? They definitely don't without Herschel. Like, there's no question. They probably don't win the SEC without Herschel. because that was just what it was at that time. It was very much a one-man show. Buck, Lindsey Scott, y'all want to come on the show and say differently? I mean, we'll listen, but I think they'd probably agree. They don't win it without Lindsey Scott either, for the record. But in the grand scheme of things, Herschel was so much the reason why. Brock Bowers, Georgia played 3 competitive games in 2021. It was the Clemson game at the beginning of the season, and then both of the Alabama games. He scored the first touchdown against Michigan. He had the first catch of the season against Clemson. He had the final game of the season. Did I say Clemson earlier? I don't know if I articulated that very well. They played Clemson, Bama, and Bama. Those were the 3 close games. That was it. He had the first catch against Clemson. He had the final catch of the season against Alabama. He had the first, which was a touchdown. He had the first touchdown against Michigan. I don't know that they win the national championship without Brock Bowers. They probably don't without Stetson, but they played a lot of those games without Stetson being their starting quarterback. Brock, from game 2 on, really game 1, but from game 2 on, the UAB game, if I'm not mistaken, in 21, he was a force the whole time. And it's not like Darnell Washington was trash. I mean, Todd Hartley's recruiting efforts have been significant. Let me tell you right now. And hey, we've got a great deal for you from our friends at DoorDash. Use the code DAWGFootball, DAWG football, and you're going to get a 50% off of your $10 value in your first order. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. 50% off of a $10 value and spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code DAWGFootball. Subject to change, terms apply. It's just a lot easier than cooking. That's my editorial comment. Just go get DoorDash from whoever in Athens, Atlanta, Albany, Augusta, wherever. Hiawassee, Hahira. There's so many places. That you can get it. So take advantage of that today. Great to have them on as a partner. But Brock Bowers, has been dashing his way through people on the football field for some time. And my suspicion is he will not play in this game. But we'll see certainly during warmups. Because before that, I just don't know. Although Georgia is required to have open periods, in the past, Kirby has sort of made a mockery of that, doing it while they stretch or doing yoga and stuff like that. And it's his program. He can do whatever he wants to do. But that's not what that's intended for. That's intended to watch the guys practice, but whatever. Georgia is a 17.5 point favorite over Florida State as it stands today. The Noles are coming into this thing limping. I did not think, first of all, and I'm going to say this every single time I talk about this game, Liberty has no business being in the college football playoff. That's a joke. That should not be happening. I don't care if they beat Oregon by 1 million. That should never happen. It should be a legitimate team. And honestly, it shouldn't be. The group of 5 should never be in the playoff, but whatever. The power, that's going to happen next year, and that's not right. But, that probably should have been SMU or Tulane. But anyway, Oregon is a 17-point favorite over Liberty. Georgia is a 17.5 point favorite over Florida State. That might go higher. But if bettors start sniffing around and thinking that Brock Bowers is going to play in this game, then maybe it will jump up a little bit, maybe a point, something like that. I think Brock Bowers' legacy has been cemented, is cemented. It's just what it is. Is he the greatest overall football player in Georgia history? I don't know that anybody's ever going to get past Herschel. And I mean, honestly, I think culturally, Stetson and Herschel will just always be in front of Brock. Pound for pound, those 3 guys, Herschel, David, and Brock Bowers, it is hard to say anybody at Georgia has ever been a better pure player than those guys. I mean, Herschel's, for me, the greatest college football player of all time, not just because of what he did on the field, but, he should have won the Heisman at least twice. The fact that he left school early changed football. He twice changed football. And then, with David, I think you could make the argument that Bowers is a better player than David. I don't know. I think in the annals of history, Brock is a more consequential player than David Pollock because he caught a game-winning touchdown in the national championship game. I think for what David did, what David did at Georgia, David Green was in many ways the face of the program, but it became David. But those two, during Mark Richt's beginning time at Georgia, they were so much a part of Georgia changing from Jim Donnan to, really a national contender. And the school's not looked back since. There's been a couple of down years, 2010, and I guess 2016 is 8-5 a down year. So that'd be 2010, 2013, and then 2016 in theory. But definitely 2010, 2009. So that group of maybe 4 years of this 24 year stretch so far, 23 year stretch so far. David mattered a lot, but Brock Bowers has been, and I don't think he's going to come back. I don't think anybody really thinks he's coming back, but he's just done so much. He's mattered so much. And, could you get another player like him to come to Georgia? The way Georgia's recruiting, the answer to that is yes. Will he play in the Orange Bowl? Man, I hope so. But I kind of doubt it.